Hello, dear viewers. This is Grace Velastegui here. I'm part of Grace Nelson Attorneys at Law, the go-to attorneys since 2003. We are based in Cuenca and we have been assisting expats for more than 18 years now. Today, we are going to be talking about immigration. The application of the law came into effect only a couple of months ago, so we have some news for you. And let's begin by saying that Ecuador does not require visa for the majority of the countries. So if you are American or if you are a Canadian or a European citizen, you can come on your passport only and then you will be granted 90 days. You can extend your stay for another 90 days, therefore a total of 180 days as a tourist in this country. Now, if you wanted to apply for a temporary residency visa, which gives you 2 years in this country, you can opt for about 15 ways, depending on how you want to base the visa application. You can opt for the work visa, for the professional visa, the student visa, the volunteers, etc. And those require that you bring some documents from your country of origin. That's why it is important that whenever you know the target time when you think you might be moving into this country, you contact us. So if you send us an email to ecuador@gracenelsonlaw.com, we can send you a set of instructions, schedule of gathering documents, because you need to know that documents expire in 180 days. So we will explain exactly how the process goes and everything you need. So for you to know the general requirements for a temporary residency visa, depending on how you base it, you will have to come up with, first of all, the document that bases your residency visa application, which could be the school acceptance, the work contract, the diploma, etc. Or and also the next requirement is a police report, national background check from the country where you had lived the past 5 years. So those are mainly the most important documents that you need to prove. Of course, you need to show that you're solvent to support yourself and your dependents. Because with the temporary residency visa, you can bring your spouse, your partner in common law, and your children. So your children under 18 do not need the background check, but the oldest need the national police background check. All documents that come from a different country than Ecuador need to be apostilled in origin or legalized through the Consul of Ecuador abroad. So if you are, for instance, from the United States, you need to bring your FBI background check apostilled, and you need to bring the state police report as well apostilled. That means legalized through the U.S. Secretary of State office, the nearest one to you. And we have assistants in the United States. We can send you the contact information and they will be able to help you gather the paperwork and legalize it. So we will be then able to apply for the temporary residency visa once you come into the country, which is the best way to do it. Or you can also work with us remotely, and then you can pick up your visa from the nearest consulate. However, as I mentioned, the best way to do it would be that you work with us in advance. For instance, and as I mentioned, among the 15 types of temporary residency visas, you have some that are more popular. And so today we're going to be talking about 5 of the top residency visa options for Ecuador. And those are the work visa, and that's for people who want to work in this country. They need to find an employer that would give them a registered contract for at least 2 years with a salary of a minimum wage of Ecuador And also the employer needs to come up with a lot of documents of the company, that they have good standing with the Ecuadorian authorities, no debts of taxes, and that they have all the permits, etc. So that's a common way to base the temporary residency visa application. Another very common way that most expats use is their pension. If you are a pensioner from Social Security or VA or 401k or other pension plans, all you have to do is bring a benefit letter providing proof that you receive every month at least $1,275 for the principal, and then for your spouse, or if you bring in other dependents, you need to come up with $250 per dependent. So if you're bringing coming as a couple, for instance, you need to show that you receive at least $1,525 total for the two of you, and you need to show bank statements that where you receive the pension every month, and of course the rest of the documents that are required. And so another important and very common way to base temporary residency visas is the investor visa. And the way you do this is you need to have at least $42,500 invested in Ecuador, either in a bank through a CD. You can purchase a CD with a credit union. And by the way, the interest in credit unions is very attractive. They pay up to 8% per year as the interest rate. So that's a good way to base your residency. You can also buy property, which has to be for a minimum of 42,500, and also you can invest in a company that has a share capital of a minimum of $42,500. If you are the power of attorney of a company or a commercial representative of a company, you can also request the temporary residency visa. Another very common way that most expats choose to base their temporary residency visa is the professional visa. And if you are a professional or an artisan and you have a bachelor's degree or higher, you can send us the copy of your diploma, your transcripts, a letter stating the mode of study, and those documents need to be apostilled. You send us copies. We work with the Cenacit and register your diploma here in Ecuador in such way that when you come, whenever you're ready and you bring a current police report apostilled, we have the basis of your residency already set up in this country, and you just apply for the temporary residency visa when you come. So that's a good way to base the temporary residency visa. As I mentioned, also you can opt for the Rentiers visa, and this has a variant now. The Rentiers visa is a income-based visa, and what it requires is that you prove that you have listed income from a source abroad of at least $1,275 for the principal plus $250 for the dependent every month. And so you can do so by showing proof of that you have an investment, an annuity, royalties, bonds with you in your country, or even if you have a lease contract, you have to prove that you own the property, that you have a registered lease contract for that amount per month, and you can also opt for the new visa, the Digital Nomad Visa. So if you work online and you have a work contract or a limited liability company that pays your salary, as long as you can bring an apostilled or legalized contract of work and show the good standing of the company, you can opt for that type of visa as well. So those are the most popular temporary residency visas. and those are free of out-of-country restrictions. In other words, if you uh, uh, are not committed to stay in the country and you want to leave the country freely, you can do so and keep your status for 2 years. After 2 years, you will have to renew this temporary residency visa and for another 2 years, and you can do that multiple times. However, if your intention is to stay in Ecuador as a permanently, you want to then apply for the permanent residency. Therefore, the requirement is that you don't leave the country for more than 90 days as a temporary resident and in the whole period of the 2 years, or in fact in 21 months, because at 21 months of being a temporary resident and not have left the country for more than 90 days, you become eligible to apply for the permanent residency visa, which is an indefinite visa. And at that time, you need to be careful because for 2 years, you're limited to not leave the country for more than 180 days per year. And then beginning the third year, you can be gone for up to 2 years at a time to not lose your permanent residency status. The permanent resident visa allows you to bring dependents, and you can bring the whole family because it includes your relatives within the second degree of consanguinity and second degree of affinity. So you can bring your children, your spouse, of course, and if you marry an Ecuadorian or a permanent resident, you can come and apply for the permanent residency as long as you bring a marriage certificate or common law and you register it in Ecuador. Also, if the permanent resident has a dependent that is disabled, that person is also a dependent of the permanent resident, and you have to provide the documents that prove so. You have to show proof of solvency, and you have to not have been convicted for murder, homicide, rape, kidnapping, and or other punished with imprisonment greater than 5 years to be able to apply for the permanent residency. If you have a background check that shows other violations of the law, what you will be required is to appear before the authorities for an interview, and they will consider your application. So you will get a cédula, both with the temporary residency visa, which is good for 2 years, and with a permanent residency, you will get a cédula for good for 10 years. So that is, the cédula is an ID for Ecuador. It's like a driver's license in the United States, for instance. And that document is your identification in this country. So it is important to complete the visa process. So those will be the main guidelines that you need to follow to apply for temporary residency and permanent residency in Ecuador. Now, if you are considering applying for citizenship in the country, you need to have been a resident of the country for at least 5 years. 2 years as a temporary resident and 3 years as a permanent resident, but you need to be careful to not leave the country for more than 180 days for 3 years as a permanent resident to opt for the citizenship. So that's a very easy rule compared to other countries. You can also apply for citizenship if you marry an Ecuadorian and you've been married for more than 2 years, or you have a civil law union with an Ecuadorian. To apply for citizenship, all you have to have from the States is basically your birth certificate, apostilled or legalized. Sometimes they request a police background check, and the process is pretty long unless you're married to an Ecuadorian, in which case it should not last more than 2 months. But if you are applying as a foreigner, you can wait for almost 2 years now, and you need to prove that you have a solvency, that you know the Ecuadorian culture, pass a test in Spanish, and if you are 65, the news are with a new law that the test on history, geography, economics, and culture of Ecuador will be waived. However, you still have to pass a test of Spanish. So you need to learn the language. That's one of the conditions. And if you don't pass the tests for 3 times, you need to wait a year to reapply for citizenship. So there are many conditions. It's very important that if you're planning to move into Ecuador, you contact us in advance, and you work with us, and we give you all the instructions, because there's always some changes in the policies and some updates that we keep up with, because we did this in regular basis, and we are professionals. We guarantee our work. So contact us and send us an email to ecuador@gracenelsonlaw.com. Have a good afternoon.